We did it!
This is not over, Dingleberries.
We can't let it send that signal.
I've got just the thing right here. Ow!
Combine your weapons, just like we practiced. Go, team.
Let's go! Ow! Okay.
There. In there.
You're gonna be too late! Now! Hit it!
Just a minute.
Oh, come on!
There you go.
Now!
Wait for it. This one's for you, Rost.
Hey! It's not gonna make it!
Never doubt grandma power.
Told you humans were tougher than we looked.
And so, with the great evil vanquished by Aloy's comically oversized arrow, the army of machines began to break free from its control. The good guys had won, and the restoration of the natural world was magnificent to behold.
I can't believe it. It's really over, isn't it?
Thanks to you, my child. But as one quest ends, another begins. Preparing for the greatest party in the history of Mother's Heart.
I can't wait.
Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praises, honor, and glory to the Heavenly Father and His only begotten Son, Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rachak Wadash, the born and speak to the apostles and elders at Great Millstone who rule well and have taught us that 100% truth. Much peace and blessings be unto you, hopeful, elect that to push not this word of thought, truth, and sincerity. To all you welcome, I do say shalom. The Akhir, I'm coming in with a quick video going off of the clip that you saw at the start of the video, which is from Lego Horizon Adventures, an adaptation to the Horizon video game franchise, with Aloy as the main character. But the game was pretty boring, but I'm a trophy hunter, so I had to complete it. And, thankfully, the ending was interesting. And it was interesting to the point where I found it heavy, and I'm now doing a lesson on it. Because, seeing it, you can liken the buried shadow to Esau Edom. Right? And, the glory of the Chaldees, Babylon the Great. Whereas the so-called good guys composed of Aloy, Aaron, Varl, and Tirsa, they represent Jake. And you could also allude them to the other heathen nations, which will, shoot their shots at this place. And as you see that missile that they built. But as you see in the clip, the buried shadow, that big red entity tried to corrupt the world. And you saw that when it affected those robot animals. And zapped that hog. Poor little hog. He didn't deserve to suffer like that. But, then the missile hit the buried shadow. The buried shadow, got destroyed, died off, and the world was restored to its former glory. That is, basically a summary of what's coming soon. Or what's already, been in the works. First precept I want to pull out would be 2nd Esdras, the 6th chapter, verse 9, and it doth read, or actually verse 7, Then answered I and said, What shall be the parting asunder of the times? Or when shall be the end of the first and the beginning of that followeth? And he said unto me, From Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau. For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. And it is therefore no wonder as to why the mention of Jacob holding on to Esau's heel is so significant? Well, that's because it was a foreshadowing of what was to come. And to add elements of foreshadowing, that makes a you could tell a good writer by what's it called, the addition of foreshadowing before, you know, a certain situation happens. And, you know, something the men of the Lord, starting out with the apostles and others that great Muslim have always made the mention, is that this is the Lord's movie. It is a story, you know. So he tossed in that foreshadowing from like several thousand years ago, you know, to reference this time in the timeline. For we are at the end of the world, end of an age, end of an era. For Esau's the end of the world, not the planet itself. You know, we know time back to Ecclesiastes makes the mention how one generation cometh, another one generation goeth, and another cometh, and the earth abideth forever. Which, yeah, the other apostles hardly make the mention there's a distinction between forever and forever and ever. But we know that in this case, forever just means eternity. You know, this planet took several thousand years to build. You know, the Lord just gonna decimate it for naught. No, he's gonna keep it. Really, when you look into that word "new" in the New Testament, it goes to that Greek word kainos, I think kainos, meaning refurbished, renewed, refreshed, right? Like when you buy something, say for example, a celestial telescope, you use it, and then within the warranty thing, whatever you call it, you return it. Maybe you didn't like it, or you wanted to return it just cause. Maybe it was, you know, a temporary phase. Whatever, you return it. The company, you know, in order to keep appearances, right, to keep that reputation up, you know, and satisfy their next customer, they take care of what's it called, the returned item. They restore it to like new, you know, to preserve its quality. Really, that's what's gonna happen. The Lord's gonna do that. He's gonna refurbish the earth, refresh it by way of what, that thermonuclear fire, like that missile that you saw in the video, which, yes, ICBMs were mentioned in the scriptures. You know, there's precepts on that, right? And, you know, it's only scientifically proven that fire is a cleanser, right? To refine impurities. I'm gonna do a quick Google search just to fact check that, you know, just to prove it. Or I don't even need a fact check, but just to what's it called, use an external source to prove a point. Does fire cleanse? Yes, fire is widely recognized as a purifier in both practical and symbolic contexts. Physically, high heat sanitizes materials, smelt metals to remove impurities, and acts as a cleansing agent in ecosystems. Ooh, ecosystems, baby. Ecology. Earth. Right? So the Lord finna what's it called, that cleanse this world with the ultimate agent and the ultimate solution. Fire. And it's not only the ICBMs, but also the chariots that are gonna, you know, shoot their shots. You get a good clip of that, or a good reference, point of reference with that when you what's it called, watch movies like Independence Day, or maybe you may have spiritual dreams, right? Key aspects of fire as a purifier: practical / physical purification. Fire kills bacteria and pathogens, making it effective for sterilizing tools, cleaning water, and cleaning forests of flammable debris. It acts as a refiner for metals, burning away impurities. To sterilize. Sterilize means disinfect. Make something free from bacteria or other living microorganisms. Bacteria and pathogen. Now, we know there's good bacteria, right? But there's also bad bacteria. Pathogens, a bacterium, virus, or other microorganisms that can cause disease. What's an example of something that causes diseases? Wickedness, right? A disease it's like wickedness is a disease, right? It's a pollutant. It's a hazard. It harms the person. The soul that sinneth, it shall die. Right? And to be wicked, you have to, your lifestyle is supposed to be sinful. You're supposed to live in sin, you know, like 24/7. You love it, you know, you live it. That's your whole religion, you know, serving the sin. Well, the ultimate end all be all, the consequence for, you know, such a lifestyle is death. And it's a harsh reality, you know, but it's just the way the Lord created it, right? Romans 6:23. Also in James, it makes the mention how, you know, what's it called? Sin after sin leads to death, right? Whereas to keep the law leads to, you know, life. It is then no wonder as to why the Israelites in the kingdom shall never die, being sinless. Also in Proverbs the 3rd chapter makes the mention, hey, keep my commandment and you shall have a prolonged life. Right? Prolonged life. Think about all the people that drop dead prematurely in the scriptures. You know, a lot of the times because of wickedness. It's the wickedness. Right? You know, one example that comes to mind is the priest Eli's sons in the book of 1 Samuel. You know, when the prophet Samuel was a lad, or I think he was younger than that at the time, I forget. The point is, you know, Eli's 2 sons died in war, and then Eli also died himself, but he was already old anyways, and you know he died at the loss of the Ark of the Covenant of the Lord. You know, at the news that it's been taken by the Philistines, and you know I think he fell back and dropped dead like that, like snapped his neck, I forget. Just a brutal way to go out. Brutal way to go out. But yeah, time back. I brought out the precept, 2 Ezra 6 chapter, right? Verse 9. For Esau, Isaiah 54:16 makes the mention now. It is a waste to destroy the ICBM is. Yeah, so now, that's not the right precept. The precept I wanted to pull out was in the book of 2 Ezra. Salachia. So 2 Ezra 15. Okay, so I was all over the place for a second there, but now I know. All right, so 2 Ezra the 15th chapter, verse 6. For wickedness, or actually, verse 5. Behold, saith the Lord, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction, ICBMs, which, I guess Isaiah 54:16, the mention of that does, you know, fit perfectly, because in said precept makes the mention how I have created the ways to destroy, another form of that word destroy is destruction, destroyer. All right, for wickedness hath exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled. So therefore, because the works are manifested and have been done repeatedly, you know, all that wickedness, the Lord's been plaguing this earth, first and foremost, starting off at Babylon the Great, which is America. Right, but you could also liken it to, you know, spiritual Sodom in Egypt, right? What's it called? Nineveh, so on. Because just like its ancient counterpart, Rome, it keeps the customs of former kingdoms and empires, right? You know, what's it called? This place is actually known as a great melting pot. Great melting pot, which in layman's terms is basically is it's essentially the combination, the blending of all cultures into one organized group, if that makes any sense. So you take on that modern Issachar culture, you take on that modern Judah culture, you take on Ammon's culture, Moab's culture, so on. You know, Cush's culture, Esau's culture, all of it, you combine it into one place. You know, it reminds me of Hellenization. What's it called? And that's why you got gyms all over the place too. You know, gym now is, you know, naked, really a place of exercise, but you know, really traditionally it was always done nude. And you have a similar spirit to that on this side, because when people go to the gym, man, they're practically naked at that point. You know, at least some of them. You got, what's it called? Women wearing their little, you know, short shorts, little short, you know, tight shorts. Guy is shirtless. Hell, there's been guys, what's it called, walking around in freaking, you know, them sports underwear. At those, what's it called, private gyms. Which doesn't matter whether it's a public or private gym. The point is, it's still a gym. It's still a place of exercise done nude. You know, so, man, that spirit is still there, dude. You know, yeah, basically nude guys out there working in the gym. But you see, it's a part of everyday life in modern cities. Just like back then. You know? So that's a form of taking on, you know, one's culture. Right. Anyways, I digress. Talking about gyms, whack. Anyways, for wickedness of the... Actually, you know, I got a gym membership. You know, nothing wrong with the gym membership. You know, but as the apostles advised, you know, you don't want to be walking around shirtless, you know. And I remember one of the men of the Lord, he was doing a lesson, and he, what's it called, back that point up. You know, what's it called, really should be covered up. And that reminds me of another lesson the other Apostle Gabar did, going into how we're supposed to be clothed, and how the other Apostle Tahar also did a lesson going into clothing back in the day. You had people, you know, wear freaking full-on suits at the beach, dude. Now they walking around bikinis and freaking, what's it called, you know, shirtless, whatnot. Back then, they was wearing freaking suits and ties. Hell, there is a photo of that, not only at the beach, in Arizona at the is it Grand Canyon, Arizona? I forget, dude. You know, forget my geography, forgive me. But yeah, the photo from like back in the 30s or whatever. Some dude, the Grand Canyon, you know, took a photo of him on his car, and he was wearing a full-on suit. Motherfucker, you know how bipolar that weather's gotta be? Damn, dude. You know, but the other Apostle Gabar was like, you know, it doesn't matter, you know, you still gotta wear it, you know, even if it's hot. Right? You know, which when I go to the gym, you know, I'm fully clothed, right? And you wear your sweater, your sweatpants, beanie, hoodie. You know, I try to be all covered, right? Even if it's not winter, even if it's not fall, you know, it could be the spring or summer. Well, I go at night anyways, you know, so it's gonna be cold regardless. I digress, though. I don't want to talk about the gym. It's good though, you know, we're working out. I digress. Behold, saith the Lord, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction. For wickedness exceedingly polluted the whole, polluted, a politant is harmful, right? Hey, what's it called? Repeated exposure, consistent exposure to you know, bad air quality, you know, definitely does have an effect. Another example can be that black lung, white lung, right? Black lung. Black lung, working in the coal mines too much. People die. People have died. Working yourself to death, dude. And then you got that cough from there on. You're cooked, dude. You're cooked. You know, unless you have a lung transplant, that's even possible. I don't even know. I reckon it. So I know people be doing what's it called, heart transplants. Like one of the Rothschilds did like 6 transplants. I forget. You know, the white lung, yeah, I meant to mention white lung. White lung is when, like back in during the first industrial revolution here in America, which if I'm mistaken is in the British Isles, right, in the UK. And then I forget who, he basically leaked patents or whatever, I forget. It's been a while, you know, I'm rusty on my history. And, you know, America started industrializing as well. And, you know, it was during that time frame when people who worked in the cotton things, you know, a lot of that a lot of those molecules or whatever, they would enter into their lungs and fill it up. Therefore, you get white lungs. So that's a policy. And you end up dying too. It's the same thing with iniquity, you know, sin. Right? So it's a cleanser. It's a cleanser of that evil pathogen, iniquity. Right? But I digress. Going back to the video. I brought our second Ezra 6 chapter verse 9, right? For Esau's the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning that followeth. Right. End of an era. And that ICBM's gonna, cleanse, renew the earth, and it's gonna be all beautiful, lovely. It's gonna look like Idan. The earth don't look like an Eden, dude. It don't look like a paradise, man. And that's what that word Eden means. People out here, what's it called? They get too fanatic with the word. They don't even know what it means. Eden in the Hebrew, Idan, paradise. A pleasure of man. It ain't no pleasure here. What's it called? Even in Ecclesiastes, Yahweh, when he was a Solomon, he was getting on that. He was talking about what's it called? Everything is vanity here, dude. True pleasure is when you're immortal, dude. And what's it called? You actually benefit from, the qualities that life has to offer. But we're under the curses right now. True pleasure, true living is when you got, what's it called? Slaves, working in the fields for you. They shall till the ground, and what's it called? All that will go to you. What's it called? True pleasure is having good air quality. True pleasure, I can't even think, dude. There's so many things. Air quality, dude. What's it called? Good ground. You can actually see the sky for once. Instead of having to go to the roof side, you could just look up, and you see the stars. You see all the constellations, Orion, and what's it called? The Eridanus, Lepus, Monoceros, so on and so forth, dude. Living under righteous jurisdiction, for one. And having righteous, what's it called? Righteous. What's that one word? Well, divisions of labor, rather. Yet, I remember one of the Yakim was talking about a more better water treatment system than the one Esau has in store. Right, we're talking about what's it called? A more just, righteous version of one. No more, none of that carbon emissions. Right. What's it called? Chariots will be the new hot rod. Well, not for the heathen. I remember one of the Yakim made a lesson going into how chariots can only, or the seed of Israel can only inhabit chariots. Right, chariots can only house the seed of Israel. So many examples of true pleasure that this earth just doesn't, what's it called? Fall under. This earth has languished. It's waxed worse and worse, thanks to the Cracker Man himself. Esau, a Cracker Man. No, I'm finna be the Cracker Man. In the kingdom, we're gonna be the crackers, dude. You got Proverbs out there. What's it called? No more shall it be said, so on and so forth. Then it shall be so on and so. No more shall it be X this, for it's gonna be Y that. Well, what's it called? Let me tell y'all something, Achim. What's it called? We meditate terror. We watch these lessons from the Achim. What do they always make the mention? Hey, we're gonna do double unto what Esau's done. Is that not even written? Yeah, of course it's written, dude. What's it called? Hey, repay your double for her works, dude. Repay the daughter of Babylon double. Twice as much. Right, what's it called? So I remember the other Apostle was talking about that too. The things you see like in Roots, the show. Hey, we're gonna do on the Esau Eden. So Esau done whipped our backs, and we're gonna whip his backs. And we're gonna do so much stuff. So much more. But righteously, because I can, I'm not gonna say it though. Something about taking Esau as a wives while those men are still alive, but that's adultery. That's wickedness. It's not gonna be done, right? And so we're gonna be a righteous form of what's it called, retribution. Hey, we're not the border of wickedness. We're not like Esau. We're not gonna repay Esau, with wickedness. We're gonna repay Esau, what's it called, a righteous vengeance, right? Righteous vengeance. Hey, what's it called? The scriptures make the mention, I believe it was in Proverbs. For jealousy is the rage of a man, therefore shall I not spare in the day of vengeance. Jealousy, it's like, I think it's like 2 or 3-fold. Manifold, basically. And one of the definitions, you can apply in this circumstance, it's protective of one's possessions. Well, I'm protective of my nation, dude. And here you out here harming the goods, you out here harming Jade, dude. Hey, I'm jealous at that point. I'm jealous for that. I'm jealous for what's it called, the affliction you've caused. The heathen in general, starting out with Esau, Edom. And what's it called? So in that day of vengeance in the kingdom, and what's it called? 2 Peter 3:8. A day in the Lord's eyes, but 1,000 years. So, dude, 1,000 years of that rulership that you read about in Revelation 20, that second 1,000 years, that's basically a day. So that day of vengeance, oh boy, I should not spare, dude. I should not spare. And we're not gonna, in the latter, because what's it called? As it's been taught, one of the others made the mention that he's gonna get burned up in a big old bonfire. So hey, for jealousy is the rage of a man, therefore shall I not spare in that day of vengeance. That fits us perfectly. In the kingdom. In the kingdom. There's a precept I wanted to pull out, though, digressing back to how this earth is not in its, former glorious estate. It's, sick. I can't even find a precept. If I could find it. Book of Shabbat with me. But yeah, languish, if I'm mistaken, means, weaken. Yeah, Isaiah the 24th chapter. Verse 5, the earth also is defiled under the inhabitants thereof, because they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinance, broken the everlasting covenant. Yeah, one thing Esau's been doing is deforestation. I remember the other Apostle Gabar did a lesson on that. It's a corrupt work, a corrupt deed done. Poor trees, they getting, what's it called, mass chopped off. And it does harm the rest of the ecosystem. With deforestation, you're basically displacing the poor animals. Hey, but is not man supposed to have dominion over the animals? A part of that is stewardship. It is the stewardship. When the other apostle Tahar in the Genesis 1 breakdown made, I mentioned how, that dominion, also meant order. And what's it called? With that, the laws on what to eat and what not to eat. Well, think on that. What to eat and what not to eat. You're gonna spare the unclean animals. You're not gonna, vainly torture. You're not gonna vainly kill them for nothing. Right? That's the evil. That's the evil thing to do. And just because what's it called? You're supposed to eat clean animals, not supposed to mean you're supposed to, mass kill clean animals. That's what Esau was doing back in colonial America during their manifest destiny when they were killing all the bison. Right, basically starving Gad. Since Gad was splintered off into various little villages, they were consolidated in city states. They couldn't manually siege them. They can't besiege them. No, take out the food chain. That's gonna have them trickle down, get down on Gad. That's a wicked thing to do. Only Esau would do that. Only he would have the freaking audacity, the brains to freaking do that crap. Wickedness. But again, that's not just because you can kill a clean animal and eat it doesn't mean you're gonna freaking mass kill them. Hell no, that's murder. That's wickedness. No, we're supposed to be stewards, being balanced and just, righteous, considerate. Right, a part of just, that means being fair. Right, equity. Right, as true gods should be. Not that BS Greek mythology bull crap where the gods are basically running amok, committing wickedness. And that goes to show you how, if the world knows those Greek gods are freaking flawed, they ain't jack shite compared to the gods, right, mentioned of in the scriptures. Yahweh Shai, right, the Israelites and the angels. Hey, keep in mind the Israelites, they're considered gods, but they won't be true gods until the kingdom, right? That was what's it called in Psalms? Hey, it is written, ye are gods, but ye shall fall at the princes of men, right? Hey, so we are gods, but not fully. Hey, because the true God is immortal. They're impenetrable to affliction, right? They have spiritual power. They have political power to influence others, and we're gonna influence the heathen to do our bidding. Right? Else, why would it be written in Isaiah the 2nd chapter? Tell the nations, what's it called? Beat your swords into plowshares and your swords and your spears into pruning hooks. Because of the servitude that's coming. Anyways, I digress. Going back to Isaiah 24:5, the earth also is defiled and the inhabitants there, right? So going to show you this place ain't no Idom, but it finna be, it's gonna look like Pandora and more, dude. No eye nor ear hath seen or heard what the Lord has prepared for them. Right? Was that not written in Isaiah and then quoted by the Apostle Paul? I tell thee yea. So who knows, dude? This earth gonna be more glamorous than we could freaking fathom. And it's one thing about conditioning. You grow up, thinking one way, that's how you're going to see, therefore reality is often stranger than fiction. Well, we grew up with tainted yet preserved, spots. But again, it's all tainted like the other Apostle Ramla made the mention. Hey, but we're going to see truthfully untainted, right, virgin land. They've been talking about New Zealandia. I remember the prophets in LA were talking about a new continent, a new landmass in the kingdom. And then one of the other elders made it, or one of the other, I think it was an elder, perhaps not. Excuse me, Salaki. Yeah, they made the mention how when those, I think it was one of the other elder Aishawamba. Excuse me. Made the mention how new landmass is when on the ICBM sit and the earth shall roll to and fro like a drunkard. Excuse me, I'm so lucky. I don't know why I'm freaking burping. God damn it. Yeah, new landmasses. It's like an earthquake. With the tectonic plates. They supposedly cause mountains and whatnot. Rifts and whatnot. Well, same thing. You got crater when a crater hits. A surface impacts it. It causes a devastating blow to the point where it creates a crater. Right. Best believe there's gonna be new land masses, dude. Right. So, also with that Earth rolling to and fro like a drunkard, those missiles hitting, it could cause it to where it basically nudges the underwater continent of New Zealandia to finally arise from all that shaking. Right? So, yeah, because say, what's it called? You have like a toy and say a little key is stuck. You keep shaking it, you keep swinging it, and eventually it'll unloosen itself. Right? So, definitely new landmass and everything's going to be renewed. Plants are going to be 100%, healthy, not tainted, no more GMO bull crap. You name it, dude. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be amazing, huzzah, lovely, comely. Right? But before we get that eye down, we gotta keep going through this as the elder Ma'at talked about, once coined it. Birth pangs. Wait, did I already say that? Well, you gotta go through these birth pangs. They're basically, which is the plagues. The plagues. Hey, because when you get a birth pain, or when a woman gets a birth pain, they're in pain. Like, it hurts so much. Yeah, it hurts so much, dude. We're in Jacob's trouble. God damn, dude. We in it now. World War III finna start. Possibly, caused by a false flag, as many of the people have been talking about. Or with that Jerry Silverstein crap we know about. What's it called? Aside from that, you already, the other Apostle Torah dubbed this year, what's it called? The year of ass. Apostates, sellouts, and spies. People definitely, what's it called? Gonna wicked, the wicked people, The infiltrated camps definitely gonna show themselves, reveal themselves. And what that, what's it called? Persecution. Hey, what's it called? That draft. What's it called? MOTB. What's it called? More death of Jake. More Jake death. Because again, Jacob's trouble is a troubling, period for the Israelites. Right, so all that governmental focus on so-called black and brown communities in America is gonna make a comeback. Well, it's been making a comeback since freaking last year. Last January, what's it called? Ramped up. Ice raids, which people have been dubbing, what's it called? Just up and whatnot. But that goes to show you the corruption of Esau, Edom. But either way, it's all the fulfilled prophecy. Jacob's trouble, Jeremiah 13:7. And that leads me to the next piece, which perfectly fits the video that you saw with the buried shadow. That big red entity that tried to corrupt the world. Because for a bit of context, before this cutscene, he's the last boss. There's a final boss fight with him, and you basically beat him. And so he knows he has but a short time. Keyword right there, or key phrase right there. He tries to, what's it called? Go to that one pole tower thing to corrupt the rest of the world from that vantage point. Well, this is basically Revelation, the 12th chapter, and it fits perfectly. Right. Revelation 12:12. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Hey, I'm rejoicing, man. I'm rejoicing. I'm scared to the flesh. Man, to my spirit brings me joy. I remember that great man of the Lord, right? That Achia Shemach. He's making the mention now a few years ago. These are exciting times, Zakim. Hey, we're in the movie. Hey, these are exciting. Well, that couldn't be any more truer now. It couldn't be any more truer now. It was a movie back then. How much more now? It's a 4D film at this point. It's a 3D, 4D film, 5D film. I don't freaking know. You're in it now. You're immersed now. You really didn't feel it back in Pandemic, or at least some of us didn't feel it. At least us that were not in big metropolitan areas like Chicago and LA and whatnot. But you feel it now. Oh boy, you feel it now. Anywhere and everywhere. Right, hey, therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell on them. Which, that also, distinguishes the elect with the non-elect. What's it called? People in the world, they out here flipping out, tap dancing, what's it called? Tuesday sliding, whatever you call it, you name it. Out here, what's it called? Switching back and forth, praying to the Lord, praying to man, praying to the Lord, praying to man, back and forth. The Achim, they out here calm and collected. They out here, what's it called? Cool as cucumbers, dude. Cool as can be. Right? They just going with the motion. Hey, we not fucking with the motion, and we going with the motion. Right? Hey, what's it called? Going back to Job, the 5th chapter. Hey, I'm gonna pull it out. At calamity thou shalt laugh, to really paraphrase. Or maybe I'm confusing with Proverbs, the 1st chapter. Nope. It's really reading right here. Right, what's it called? Neither shalt thou be afraid of destruction when it cometh. That's Job 5:21. 19, he shall deliver thee in 6 troubles. Yep. 20, in famine he shall redeem thee from death, and then from the power of the sword. Yep. Yeah. Excellent precept. Verse 22, at destruction and famine thou shalt laugh, right? Again, thou shalt laugh. So, it's cool. It's interesting. Adrenaline keeps ramping up nowadays. Just it's exciting times. Going back, woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea. Yeah, woe meaning death and destruction, grief, anguish, lamentation, right, be upon you. And you are starting to see that people are disillusioned with this so-called American dream, which they never really was, unless you're an Edomite. And even the people in the world, right? What's it called? They're looking. What's it called? over at us. And like, yeah, man, these guys are absolutely losing it. They are, yeah, we're losing it, or we're not. I mean, you know, but I'm so-called American, but yeah, you know, the people in the world are losing it. They don't know what's happening. You know, they don't understand that it's by design. Right? You know, their most common excuse is a distraction from the so-and-so file, but really, it goes so much deeper than that. You know, really, what's it called? The banking families, dude. The ones who are really in control. For the devil, meaning, or really, devil goes by the Greek word diabolos. The Greek word diabolos meaning adversary, and who's our adversary throughout history? Going back to the garden, Esau, Edom. Because as the apostles made the mention, the previous incarnation of Esau, Edom was the serpent. Right? What's it called? Time out the Psalms. Hey, the wicked shall, what's it called? Is born speaking lies. And that's what the serpent did. He lied. He was a liar. And Esau is often alluded to, you know, freaking, you know, that great dragon. Right? That great dragon. So, you know, a dragon is a serpent. Hey, so going back to that whack conspiracy theory on reptilians, which we obviously know there ain't no, what's it called, no other humanoid species with, you know, reptiles, that's freaking bullcrap. But if there's any truth, any found basis on that, is that it's referring to Esau, Edom, right? Because he's known as a serpent in the scriptures, you know. But I digress. For the devil, Esau has come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. A short time. So going back to that video that you saw, the bird shadow over here, he knows they have but a short time, so he went up to that vantage point to try and corrupt the rest of the world. But you know, the good guys, you know, they threw that missile and, you know, basically destroyed them, restoring the earth and the order and the balance and everything, saving, you know, the world, and living happily ever after. Which, you know, there is a happily ever after what's it called, the destruction or the collapse of E. Right? That's the party, you know, what's it called? Everlasting rest for the Israelite nation. How about that? So it's a hoop-de-doo for Esau, Edom, and a huzzah for the nation of Israel. And I know the other part of the heart expressed his expressed his opinion on not liking the phrase, we got next. You know, but hey, we got next, right? Israel got next. You know, and that next ruling dominion. Hey, it's not gonna be Moab. You know, China's second superpower, yeah, but as the other Apostle Gabar made the mention when he put out the book of Psalms, the 2nd chapter, going to why the heathen imagine a vain thing, because really, why do the heathen imagine a vain thing? That is a vain thing. Well, they don't understand that the nation of Israel is going to be the next ruling power, and the only ruling power that, hey, Esau, you already had, it's like it, Moab, you already had your time to shine. All right, 2nd into the 16th chapter makes the mention, woe be unto, what's it called, thou Asia? Yeah, woe be unto you. And still woe unto you. Right, but what's it called, you already had your time to shine. Right now, and even back then. Hey, going back to the book of Judges, Moab had oppressed us. And you had King Eglon on the scene. You know, that big fat king who, you know, you had the Benjamite, you know, stab in the gun, you know, a crab came out. If I'm not mistaken, that was a little crab. One of the Yakim explained that. That dirt, that was little shit. You know, stab this freaking, you know, intestine, whatever. You know, and what's it called? Stool came out gross. All right. And then he died in this summer parlor. After the guards opened it and found out, oh crap, he was dead. But you know, it's a common trope. It's a common trope when you know, a ruler, right, a king, is that violent and terrible that he even scared his own personal guards. That, you know, there could be one time he is left alone, and he could be asking, you know, freaking dying for help, his guards won't mess with them though. You know, they just let him be. You know, and you know, the sake of preserving their own life. You come to find out, what's it called? The person they were taking care of died. And that reminds me of, what's it called? I think it was Stalin. Correct me if I'm wrong. That happened to him too. They didn't want to mess with him. His guards. He ended up dying, and his guards ended up checking on him afterwards and finding out that he was died. They were ashamed. Right, but that's yeah, you know, Moab, you already had your time to shine, bud. You know, hey, let the professionals handle this. Who are the professionals? The Israelites. Hey, are we not chosen to be that mediator nation, that medium to his divinity, the Lord's divinity, Yahweh Ba'ashem Shai's divinity? Is it not written in Psalms 147, I have given my statutes unto Jacob? How about that? Is it not written that we are a royal priesthood? Kings and priests. He has made us kings and priests. Are we not going to be judges, judging matters? Are we not going to be lords? Are we not going to be true gods, kings? Oh boy, dude. Yes, we are, you know. Therefore, let the pros, the people who've been destined for rulership, take care of this earth, dude. You know, we don't need no more so-called pragmatic, no more freaking arbitrary, you know, jurisdictional, you know, so-called lawful bullcrap. No, we need true order, and that will be instilled, you know, with the Israelite nation, starting off with Yahweh Shai HaMashiach. All right, my Lord and Savior, my Lord and Savior. I'm an Israelite. He can't save me. He saved me the first time, being up in that cross. Therefore, his great sacrifice, you know, the worst death in existence. What's it called? Not worse as in it was, you know, vain. No, worse as in it was a brutal killing. What's it called? Very terrible, very sad. But you know, his death was a great sacrifice. It held purpose and basically esteemed him up to be on the right hand side of the Lord right now, right? Giving him, you know, riches and whatnot. He holds glory, dude, and he's gonna hold glory in the kingdom. You know. Yeah, what's it called? Starting with Yahweh Shai and bringing it on down. You know, they're gonna be ruling in authenticity, righteousness. Oh boy. How about that? Yeah, I'm gonna pull out a quick precept. This is the book of 2 Peter 3 and 13. Actually, Revelation 21:1. Yeah, and I saw a new heaven and a new earth. The first heaven and the first earth passed away, and there was no more sea. Time out. A refreshed, beautiful planet. And I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from power out of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. Now, let me tell y'all something. Anytime I know goddamn Skyblock City, you know, pulling down from the heavens, dude, hell nah. You know, leave that to the Hebrew Instagram lights on their little Instagram, posting those photos of a freaking cube coming down from heaven. Ain't no freaking Skyblock City. Now we know there's gonna be a New Jerusalem city, by a little city. No, New Jerusalem. Hey, because Jerusalem is a city, and it's been a city since what's it called? It's been a city before King David took it over, but it was by a different name. Yerushalayim. If I'm mistaken, that's how you pronounce it in Hebrew. And there's still a Jerusalem now. But the Amalek inhabits it. Amalek and Ishmael inhabit that place right now. There's going to be a new Jerusalem in the kingdom for sure. But this new city, this new Jerusalem, written of in the scriptures, pertains to the nation. Hey, as it is mentioned by the Achim. Ezra is a people before it's a place. Yeah, Khan. Ezra is a people before it's a place. You know? And you seen that in Thor 3 Ragnarok at the start of the film, you know, after Thor and Loki find, you know, Odin, I think it was in Norway or whatever. You know, he was about to pass away. You know, he gave one last, you know, conversation with the sons, you know, imparting counsel, and said, this could be Asgard. Asgard is a people before it's a place, so this could be Asgard. You know, and this was after, for a bit of context, this was after Thor warned him that, you know, Ragnarok was coming for the city of Asgard. Or Slakia, Ragnarok was coming for the city of Asgard. Ragnarok being the destruction. So yeah, it is a people before it's a place. New Jerusalem is a people. That's one of our titles. When you read about, when you read the name Jerusalem, Jeshurun, daughter of Zion, so on, so forth, those all pertain to the nation of Israel, the Israelites, the Hebrew Israelites, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. Not Amalek, dude. Not Amalek. You know, Israeli ain't no Israelite. No, different. There's a distinction. Different. There's a difference thing. There's a difference. There's a difference. Different. There are differences, right? There are differences. Salahia. I want to correct my grammar for a second there, but yeah, it pertains to the people. You know, they are new. They're going to be perfected in those spiritual bodies. Hey, they shall be changed in the twinkling of an eye. The Yachim have made the mention now. You know, the only thing being saved is really our souls, our spirits, right? Not even this flesh will be saved, you know, but the spirits, right? So, you know, from the second that beam, you know, falls upon us and starts lifting us up, changed, buddy, changed, boy. You know, which I had still, what's this called? It's still vivid to this day. You know, the dream about the chariot, the Yahushua ship, already a lesson on that. It's so freaking, it's the most magnificent spiritual dream I've ever had to this day. The Yahushua ship and destruction day. You know, when I saw destruction, the Yahushua ship, which covered the sky all around me, ended up beaming me up. Oh boy, how about that? And it's going to be in that beam, you're going to get lifted up. You know, speaking of chariots, I actually saw a chariot last night. How about that? Which was a spirit, because, you know, normally when I go out to look at the stars, it's more darker. But, you know, actually, no, it's around this time anyways, because it's almost the spring, but it was 7:26 p.m. It was 7 when I went out. But normally I go out when it's darker. But, you know, that was during it's during the winter when it already gets darker, you know, sooner. So it's the same time frame, but it's not as dark as it was before. But now, since it's almost spring in a few days, you know, there's still light outside at 7:26 p.m. and it's gonna be that way up to the summer solstice, the brightest, the longest day, right? The day with longest time with sun or whatever that makes. Let me just freaking, you know, rephrase. What is summer solstice, dude? I feel like I didn't explain it right. So the summer solstice is occurring around June 2022 in the northern hemisphere, and December 2023 is the year's longest day and shortest night, marking the official start of summer. All right, yep. And I think it goes to like 8:30 or whatever. I forget, but yeah. I saw a chariot around 7:26 p.m. You know, it was still daytime. It was getting darker though. You could see Jupiter. And you could see Sirius. About the only few stars that were visible. I think Rigel was also visible. I forget, but yeah, you saw a chariot. I saw a chariot, dude. Yeah, pa. I digress. And I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, "Behold, the tabernacle of Yahweh Shemel shines with man." And he would, how about that? Hey, time out the Proverbs 8:4. Unto you, O man, I call. So the Lord deals and starts out with men first and foremost. And he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people. And yeah, what's it called? I forget. I may remember right now. But continuing on, it reads, "And they shall be his people, and power himself shall be with them and be their power." And and what's it called? Shall wipe away all tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death. Wipe away all tears, yeah, because we've been afflicted since our advent, right? The nation of Israel, after the three classifications of man, after the fall of man, right, after the patriarchs, what's it called? The nation of Israel really came to fruition during their stay at Egypt, because it was just 70 souls at the time that went into Egypt. After Joseph became the governor, basically, ruler. He was under Pharaoh, but he was the governor. So after those 70 spirits, that's when the nation of Israel really came to fruition. So really, what's it called? We popped out. Our star was in slavery. Our star was in oppression. Because then you have those two pharaohs, I'm mistaken, those two latter pharaohs, they got down on us, dude. They subjected us to all that hardship, all that turmoil. And also, what's it called? Babylon, America, is known as Egypt. It's a place of bondage. We're bondmen. Now, back a few hundred years ago, you had actual, Jake in chains. They were actually in bondage. Now, what's it called? It's more voluntary. What's it called? Having to comply with terms and agreements, right? In order to, keep up with society. And then, we know that's going to be a foreign to the MOTB, which we will not take, from that point on off the grid. But, hey, this will show you we're still in captivity, regardless of, you supposedly making your own money to buy whatever you want. And if anything, the illusion that you could buy whatever you want while really owning nothing, right? That's all to distract you from what's really been going on. Because it's a common tactic for dictators to, keep the civilians, their subjects, distracted, Julius Caesar did that with, what's it called? If I'm mistaken, it was, I'll search it up. Julius Caesar entertaining the people. Julius Caesar entertained the Roman populace through lavish bread and circuses to boost morale and secure loyalty. Right, to secure loyalty. As Adol in 65 BC, he staged massive games, including gladiatorial contests, and expanded the Circus Maximus. He often worked during these spectacles, focusing on administrative tasks while the public enjoyed theatrical and bloody entertainments. Right, distraction tactics. While the public watched games, Caesar used his time for work, ignoring the violence. That's Esau's, go-to. And best believe it, even to this day, you got people that are asleep. They really don't know what's going on. They're just living life to life, A lot of people don't look at the news, out of fear and anxiety. Some of them really don't care. A lot of them, best believe a lot of people in this day and age right now, 2026, they still living as if nothing was happening. Yeah, nothing chaotic was happening, just living life. They're already distracted. They're just on autopilot and whatnot. Right. But I digress. Behold the tabernacle of and there should be no more death, either so, nor crying, neither shall be there any more pain, for the former things are passed away. Right. So that's going into what you could already imagine, the kingdom just being a beautiful rest. No more dying prematurely. It's written. The old man shall with their staff. Really going to immortality. No more affliction, none of that. For the former things, captivity, are passed away, and only beautifulness. So as the video concluded, what was the last what was the last thing? Right. Tirsa made the mention, thank you, my child, but as one quest ends, another begins. For as Esau's quest ends, Jacob's begins. Preparing for the greatest party in the history of Mother's Heart. So preparing for the greatest party on the earth, right, for the Israelites. And with that being said, I hope this lesson was edifying. I hope this lesson was edifying. To the next one, I do say shalom.